Hey guys, Sam LG here with my next video on a review for the Mazdaspeed 3. If you guys recall with my last video, I mentioned that I'll put up a video on a review for this car right after the 5 things I like about it, and here it is. So let's jump right into it. I definitely really enjoyed this car. It's been my favorite of the cars I've owned so far, and I'll kind of talk about this car. I might bring up my last 2 cars before this. Both of them were BMWs. I had a 1989 BMW 750iL, I believe. It was a 12-cylinder sedan, and it was really interesting to drive. And then after that, I had a 2005 330 Ci convertible with the ZHP package. So definitely a big change going from 12 cylinders to 6 and then now to 4. But it's got a turbo, so it kind of makes up for it. In fact, this car actually has more horsepower than my last car did, so I'm definitely happy with that. At this point, I'm just waiting for the car to warm up before I actually take off, and I'll kind of start with that for the review. The car itself is great, but one thing with these 4-cylinder turbos in stick, and well, for this one in particular, I'm not sure about any of the other 4-cylinder turbos, but you have to definitely wait a while for this car to warm up. I know in like TJ Hunt's videos, when he warms up any of his cars, he warms them up for like 5 or 10 minutes or something. I pretty much do the same thing with this car, and I think it's because you can't really open up the car, as in like step on the gas, or you shouldn't at least, when the car is still cold. So you gotta wait for it to warm up before you can actually push it to whatever you're gonna be doing. And then same thing when you're about to turn the car off. I actually have to keep the car running for maybe like 5-ish minutes, and that's for the turbo to cool down. What I've been told about this is that the oil for the engine runs through the turbo. So what happens is when you're turning off the car, when you do turn off the car, the turbo is still really hot, especially if you've been pushing the car a lot right before you turn it off. And when the turbo is hot and you turn off the car, the oil stops flowing, and what happens is the turbo being so hot, it pretty much heats up the oil or something and makes it super dense compared to the rest of the car. I don't know, it just throws something like that out of whack, and for that reason I have to wait about 5 minutes before I turn off the car, especially if I've been like pushing it or anything like that. So those are definitely some of the things with starting and stopping starting the car and turning off the car. Aside from that, there's not any issue that I can really think of, and since the car is warmed up, I will start to drive. So this car comes with the optional tech package, which includes stuff like the navigation, blind spot monitor, which are both really great features, as well as I believe the sound system, as well as a few other stuff, I'm sure, like the automatic windshield wipers and the automatic headlights turning and all that. I think those are all included with the tech package. Aside from that, there's not a whole lot going on with technology for this car. I mean, yeah, it's got like automatic windows and stuff like that. I mean, most of the cars nowadays do. I don't think I've even seen a car that you actually have to roll down the windows. But that's pretty much it for technology for this car. I know with the tech package, there's I think the mirrors come in like black or something on the outside. The exterior mirrors come in a black color to, I don't know, give it or make it stand out from the other Speed 3s out there or something, along with the black rims. That might actually be a separate package aside from the tech package, or it might all just be included in the one. I'm not entirely sure, but either way, it's definitely this car is definitely way up there in terms of all the features it has and everything that it does. So now let's jump into the handling portion of the video, because I think handling is definitely one of the most awesome things about this car. Earlier in this video, I mentioned that I've owned 2 other BMWs before this. This does not compare to the BMWs. It's definitely different. I mean, handling wise, this handles totally different from the other cars. Then again, this is also a hatch, and the 2 cars were, one was a sedan and the other was a convertible, so I mean, they're not comparable anyway. But at the same time, I want to say the handling for this car is unique. I mean, I've driven our Toyota Camry or Toyota Corolla, I've driven like a Nissan Sentra and stuff like that. None of them were all directly identical to each other, except for the BMWs, just because they're BMWs. But I want to say this more closely would relate to the BMW than it would like our Toyota Corolla or Toyota Camry in terms of handling. I mean, it handles corners great. It handles, I mean, once you take off in this car, the car takes off. There's no stopping this car. It just flies, basically. What I will say is the gas pedal for this car is very identical to the Camry and the Corolla, in that, well, sensitivity-wise, I mean. Like, when you touch the pedal, like, barely, the car just takes off right away. I mean, there's no, like, soft takeoff. It's just basically you barely touch the pedal and the RPMs just jump. Same thing in the Camry and the Corolla. Not the RPMs, but once you barely touch the pedal, the car just kind of takes off and goes, which I am not a fan of, just because, again, my last 2 cars were both BMWs, and when you stepped on the gas, it didn't feel so much like a jump. It felt more like a slow, I don't know, it felt different. I don't know exactly what to compare it to, but it felt completely different, and I liked the BMW gas pedal over this one. And I know, again, they're not the same car, so I shouldn't expect them to be the same or similar, but I mean, it was just nicer, and I got used to it a lot more than I did any other car, mainly because I drove those cars and I don't necessarily drive the Camry or the Corolla that often to begin with. Well, I do this car, but that's different. Anyway, that pretty much covers handling with the knowledge I have. I mean, I can't, stuff like oversteer, understeer, linearness, and power, I'm still learning what those things mean. I'm new to the whole car scene, so I'm still learning what this terminology means and how it's supposed to feel like oversteer, what it's supposed to feel like, or understeer. So I can't talk about that stuff, but what I can tell you is that this the car is definitely unique, and I love that about this car. It's definitely like nothing I've driven before. I don't want to say it's better than the BMW, but it's different. I don't know. I like both cars. I just like them in totally different ways. Let's talk about power. The power in this car is kind of insane. So my last BMW had 235 horsepower, I believe. If not, it was somewhere around there. This car, I want to say, has either 280 horsepower, sorry, really bumpy road, or it's either 280 or 260 or something like that, and then torque is one or the other. I always mix up the torque and the horsepower in this car. One of them is 280, one of them is 260, I think, or maybe they're both 280 or both 260, I don't know. But they're pretty much around there. Definitely more than the BMW is my point. So it definitely feels different. You can definitely feel the power in this car, and this is a 4-cylinder turbo versus an inline 6, in my old in my last BMW. So yeah, the power is completely different. Again, I like both cars. I like the power in both cars, but in totally different ways. Let's jump into the body style of the car and the drivetrain for the car. So it's a hatchback. It's really similar to the... So it's a hatchback. It's similar to the Ford Focus hatchback. It's similar to the Subaru WRX/STI. Nothing special about the hatchback for this car versus those cars. So the drivetrain for this car, if you guys don't know, it's a front-wheel drive. I covered this in my last video when I talked about the 5 things I like about it. The fact that it's front-wheel drive, it makes torque steer an issue, just because the if you guys don't know what torque steer is, it basically, when you step on the gas, like big time step on the gas and the turbo kicks in and everything, the car pulls to the right. So you got it doesn't pull necessarily, more like yank. So basically you have to grip the steering wheel really tight so you don't let it veer off. That pretty much covers the drivetrain, aside from, you know, it's a 6-speed manual. One thing I definitely like about the lever, the shifter for this car, is that to get into reverse, it's not like the older cars where it's part of the gears, you just move it in a different direction. You actually have to push the lever down and then over and up to get it into reverse, which I think is so much better, because I mean, I don't know about you guys, but for me, there's a really high chance that I might accidentally throw it into reverse instead of first gear, just because of the location. It's reverse and then first and second. So I don't know, knowing me, it's definitely a possibility to do that. So I like the fact that you actually have to push it down to get it into reverse. So there you guys have it. That's my review for the Speed 3. I'm not really happy with this video, but I mean, I made you guys a promise to get you guys a review on the car. I will put this video out today, but at the same time, I'm going to be working on a more detailed review, and I'll have that for you guys probably on Sunday, because I want to do a whole montage clip to start out and do a whole bunch of other stuff. I definitely want to get more of the terminology that like some of the pros use, so I'll definitely be making a new review for this car, definitely in the daylight, because it's definitely harder to get you guys a video at night. I'm basically driving around with the lights on in my car. I'm sure a lot of people are looking at me like, what's going on here? But I'm making a review for this car for you guys, so that you guys have something to look for on my channel. Please look for the next review I have on this car. It's going to be a lot more detailed. It's going to be coming up here real soon. For all the stick shift drivers out there, don't you guys just hate it when somebody stops on a hill and you don't have the hill assist feature in your car, so you can't do like a stop and go kind of thing? So you have to downshift into first and just kind of barely keep on the gas to keep the car alive. Oh my goodness. That's definitely one of the things I don't like about, not necessarily about the car, but about other drivers, is that randomly they'll just decide, hey, I'm gonna stop right here on the hill. So all you other guys out there, you gotta deal with it. Sorry, quick little rant. But anyway, that's the video review for you guys. Look for the next review that I'm gonna be putting up again for this car. It's gonna be coming up on Sunday, so definitely look for that, and I will see you guys next time. Peace out.